we chat now.
Good evening, and welcome to Let's Talk with Lakshmee, a show about us, our people, our community, our culture, our experiences. And viewers, it is indeed a privilege to be sitting here right at the Lefferts branch of the Queen's Library. It's right here in your home in Richmond Hill. It's on Lefferts Blvd, right off of Liberty. And today is a very, very special day. It's a day that will mark in all of our history books, in our Indo-Caribbean history books, that is. It's a day where the Indo-Caribbean Alliance has launched a special section within this library of only Indo-Caribbean books. Now, this is either written by Indo-Caribbean authors or books about Indo-Caribbean. And sitting to my right here is Anita. She is one of the people who spearheaded this program. Now, Anita, first of all, I want you to let our viewers know where you're from and just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Anita Bagsh. I am from this area of Queens. I came here when I was actually in college, and I lived very close to this library. This was actually the branch of the library that I used and that I came to, so it's really special to have this collection here. And I'm a graduate student. I'm working on a dissertation on Indo-Caribbean writing, and I teach part-time, sometimes at St. John's University. So I'm very happy to be here, and very happy to be with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Anita. Now, Anita, where are you from originally, or your parents are from originally?
So I claim to be Guyanese, but that's not the whole truth. Oh. I was born in Suriname, and
Fawaka.
I was very young, and I left. And I went to Guyana, and I lived there for a few years before migrating to the U.S. And since then, I've lived in Jersey, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and finally, I'm here in Queens, in the heart of Richmond Hill and Jamaica, and this is now my home.
Now, question, growing up in Guyana or Suriname, and it's actually funny, this first time I heard somebody going from Suriname to Guyana, it's usually Guyana to Suriname. But growing up in Guyana as a young child, did you ever pick up a book that was written by, let's say, a Guyanese author?
No, I didn't. I actually left when I was very young, so I didn't have that opportunity. But when I did go back, I remember going back in 1994, and part of the project I had to do for leaving school for so long was to find a book from my community about a Caribbean book, an Indo-Caribbean book, and my uncle who lived there at the time had to look everywhere, you know, to really find one for me. So I remember, you know, that material wasn't really accessible then there, you know. I'm sure some of that has changed now as there's more publishing within the Caribbean space itself now. So yeah, so it's not until really I became an adult that I got access and through my own research to this kind of work.
Anita, what inspired you to spearhead this program?
Well, I was actually approached by ICA to try to help and work with the Queen's Library. It was a project that ICA took and said to the Queen's Library, we want to make this happen. And so it seemed fitting, given my expertise, my experience with research, that I, you know, would get involved and really help. And since I'm, you know, based in this community and really value the work that ICA does, the community, it seemed perfect for me to be able to work on this project.
How long did it take you to succeed with this project? Like, when did you start? When did the thought come about? And how long did it take?
So the project is about almost a little over a year that it came together, and it just basically started with like meetings with local staff, and then there was actually a really important meeting for the GROW organizations, which had a few legislative representatives, but also had a lot of key Queen's Library people. And that's when the project really got picked up by administrators within Queen's Library, and we just really started taking off and kept on working with them, in addition to local staff, to really make it happen. It started with something as simple as a book list, and then, you know, now we have over about 100 books in the collection. So
amazing, 100 books. And I have to commend you, 1 year, and you've created a section in the Queen's Library for Indo-Caribbean art. I mean, that's absolutely amazing. Now, Anita, congratulations. I know you just had a baby.
Oh, thank you.
So, considering that you're a mother now who will have to sit down with their child, read books, how does it feel for you that you know that there's 100 books here right now. I mean, he was just born. But as he gets a little older, that he can actually come here to the Queen's Library on Lefferts and pick up an Indo-Caribbean book.
It's a really amazing feeling because, I think of all the things, a lot of this, for a lot of people, it's your own personal research, right, that you need to do on the internet and through other libraries. I mean, as a researcher, I would have to have books come in from the West Indies, from libraries in the West Indies through interlibrary loan just because they weren't available, in this area. So it's amazing to think that, young children, including my own, will have this opportunity that I didn't have, that you didn't have, that a lot of other people didn't have. And it's really important now as more children are born here, are raised here, to really know that history and know the struggles of Indo-Caribbean peoples, both in the Caribbean and even now in America. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that, this really became possible through fundraising, through ICA's, dedication to fundraising. Most of the money that came for this project is through individuals who donated from our community to the project, from legislators, and it's ICA who really, coveted all of that donation, and the library, matched some of that, and they will continue to match some of it to a certain extent if people keep donating, but we only have a short time for them to match that donation.
Now, tell me about the match program. How does that work?
So the Queen's Library Foundation promised today that from now until about January, they will match dollar for dollar whatever people donate. Now, we, of course, see this as an ongoing project, going to continue to take donations, going to continue to, promote the project, but the library's going to be matching that until January. So it's a very short period, but still a significant gesture that we really appreciate and that we hope, people will take advantage of.
Now, if there are other authors out there that are watching this program today and they would like to donate their book here, how can they get in contact with you?
Well, they can check us out at our website. We would love for people, if you can't donate money, and for authors to donate their books and even books from their personal collection. They can just check us out at our website, www.Indo-Caribbean.org. And at that website, you'll also find out about all the other amazing projects that ICA is doing for the community, such as the mentoring project, and also find out more information about the book collection, how to donate, what books need to be purchased. There's a full list on there of books that we have, books that we need, and things that are out of print that people may have that can donate also.
Well, you're really doing a great thing for our community. I want to thank you. I know we have your partner in the back waiting to come on as well. So we're going to take a little break here, and we're going to come back with Richard David.
Hi, I'm Professor Joy Mahabier. I teach at Suffolk County Community College. It's a college of the State University of New York. And I teach Caribbean literature, African American literature, and contemporary global literature. I was invited to the Lefferts Library here today by the Indo-Caribbean Alliance, together with the Queen's Library. They just put together an Indo-Caribbean collection, literature. And I just talked a little bit today about our Indo-Caribbean writers. We have a lot of Indo-Caribbean writers, mainly from Trinidad and Guyana, but also from Jamaica, from Suriname, and from Martinique and Guadeloupe. One thing about Indo-Caribbean literature over the past 2 decades is that we have a lot of women writers, and these women, they've written with a lot of courage and honesty about politics and identity and sexuality and activism. And so today I just spoke about some of these poets, the poets I spoke about, and I also read one of my poems called Green Cane.
I teach a course at York University called Indo-Caribbean in Canada, and I was really delighted to see so many of the books that I teach actually as part of the collection, especially the students. Usually their favorite is The Swinging Bridge by Ramabai Espinay. A lot of students who take the course and who will use this library are people who are just trying to find their stories that they can't access in other places, or they don't sometimes even learn from their families. So it's wonderful to have this collection for people to find out more about themselves and their histories and what makes them. What I'm wearing today is a cutlass from a collection called Wardrobes, which was the result of me reading Indo-Caribbean literature and thinking through the development of my own identity and what has traveled from the time that Indians first came to the Caribbean in the 1840s to now. So the cutlass is actually an ode to both the labor of Indian indentures and also a kind of personal story about my grandmother. And another piece in the collection that's really popular is called Rum and Roti. And it's a satchel, especially for carnival masqueraders. And of course, just anyone who buys roti a lot. It's an insulated bag that fits a roti and closes, so it keeps it warm, especially if you live in a cold climate. And it has a little hidden pocket at the back that you might slip something else into. So there's the rum and roti satchel and the cutlass, and there's an urni that's a tribute to my other grandmother. And yeah, so the Wardrobes project began in reading. It turned into a fashion collection, and next it will be a series of performances.
Well, viewers, I'm back with another brilliant mind who was behind this great project here right at the Lefferts Library, Lefferts Branch Library on Lefferts Blvd in Richmond Hill. And it is always a pleasure to be with who I call Mr. President, Richard David. Richard, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited. A lot of energy here today.
A lot of energy. A lot went into this project. I have to commend the ICA. You guys, this is history in the making, Richard, and you know this. And I'm just curious to know what was behind the scenes? What went behind this whole project?
So we get a lot of emails and calls from scholars, students in college, people across the country and around the world. They want to access Indo-Caribbean history, and they want to do actual research that's happening now. And that's where this project came from. We needed a place to direct people to go because we don't have that history. But fortunately, a lot of writers have published. And so we've collected books that these scholars have given to us, the lists, and now we have the collection here. That's where it came from.
Awesome. Now, I mean, you think about Indo-Caribbean history and where can you really find it? For instance, Deborah Baracus, who wrote the cookbook that we're going to take a look at in a little while. Debbie said that she walked into a bookstore one time and wanted a Guyanese cookbook, and there was one book. So now she created the second book. But that's just cooking. But when you think about maybe an Indo-Caribbean author or Indo-Caribbean story, where our families came from in India to the Caribbean to North America, it's curious to know where can I find this. And I think it's great that now here, Richmond Hill, which was once known as Little Guyana, or we're going to call it Little Caribbean, that our children can now go into the library right here in the Little Caribbean and find books that are written by Indo-Caribbean authors. And when I think about like Guyana, Trinidad, I know Trinidad has a museum that you can find Indo-Caribbean history. I'm not exactly too sure what Guyana has, but now I know New York City, and because of the Indo-Caribbean Alliance, has this now. Now, what's the next step for the Indo-Caribbean Alliance and the library?
Well, this is just the beginning. A lot of outreach is going to go into making sure that people continue to use this. We're fortunate to be a part of one of the largest library systems in the world, and we have an Indo-Caribbean section there. We have some of the best writers and authors, and it's going to be our job to make sure that this collection stays here and that it's going to be vibrant and the books are getting returned and updated. And we've also, because of the announcement today that Queen's Library is going to match our donation, we're going to purchase books on behalf of Queen's Library to distribute throughout Indo-Caribbean communities in Queens. So it's not just going to be here in Lefferts, it's going to be in Jamaica, it's going to be in Ozone Park, it's going to be in Woodhaven, it's going to be across these Indo-Caribbean communities.
Now, with this project, with the Indo-Caribbean books right here in Richmond Hill, Queens, will you be reaching out to the schools maybe and letting the schools know that the kids in the area can come to the library here and learn more about Indo-Caribbean history?
Yeah, we're going to partner up with a lot of schools to get the teachers.
Here we go now.